All right, today we're going to look at 3 conservation of energy problems. In these 3 problems, we're going to focus specifically on potential energy, and we're going to be finding the height in these problems. So for the first problem, it says use the information below to find the final height. It gives us a mass of a cart, and it gives us an initial height and an initial kinetic energy. And it also, on the other side, gives us, we're finding the final height, and it gives us the final kinetic energy. So if you look at our equation here, we know that because energy is conserved, if we take the initial potential energy and the initial kinetic energy, add those up, they should be equal to the final potential energy and the final kinetic energy. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and set up the first problem. We're going to expand the potential energy using the equation that we have. So rather than finding potential energy, we're going to expand that out. So we're going to take our potential energy and write it as mgh, which is what we're familiar with. And we're going to set that we're going to add that to the initial kinetic energy. And this little I just means that it's the initial. So it's our starting kinetic energy. And we're going to set that equal to mgh, which is our final potential energy, plus the final kinetic energy. All right. So in the question, it tells us that the mass of the cart is 3,500 kilograms. So I'm going to start to fill this in. So 3,500 kilograms. G is always 9.8 meters per second squared. And the initial height, which is given in the question, is 20 meters. Okay. And then we're going to add that to the initial kinetic energy, which is given in the question. Okay, so right now what we've done by multiplying all this out and adding it up to the initial kinetic energy, this is going to give us total mechanical energy. And we set that equal to the right side of the equation, and we're going to be able to find the final height. So let's fill in what we know. We know that the mass is going to be 3,500. G is going to be 9.8. Okay, we do not know the ending height. That's what we're trying to find. That's what the question asks for. And then we're going to add that to the kinetic energy, the ending kinetic energy, which is 588,400 joules. Okay, so if we multiply out the left side of the equation, we're going to get 686,000 plus the 314. And we will set that equal to 3,500 times 9.8 is 34300, and we're going to multiply that by h plus the 588,400. Simplifying the left side, we get 411,600 equals 343. H. Okay, and then I also subtracted the 588,400 from the left side. And when I divide 411,600 by 34300, I get a height of 12 meters. All right, a lot of work. There's a lot going on in these types of problems. Just go slow and be careful with your math. All right, let's set up the next one. The next one is exactly the same as the first one. We just have different numbers. So we are given an initial height, we're given an initial kinetic energy, and we are finding the final height, and we are given the final kinetic energy. So same equation. right? And the mass of the cart this time is different. It's 2,700. So I'm just filling in what I have here. Honestly, setting the problems up is probably the hardest part, keeping everything straight. And then we're given the initial kinetic energy. Okay, and then on the right side, we just plug in what we know. So we know the mass of the cart is 2,700. We've got 9.8. We do not know the height, so we're just going to leave it as h. And then the ending kinetic energy. All right, let's try to clean everything up. So on the left side, we have 264, 600. And then if we simplify the right side, okay, so I'm going to add up the 264,600 plus 535,400, and then I'm going to subtract 6,200. So I get 793,800 equals 26460h. And then when I divide both sides by 26460, I get a height of 30 meters. All right. In this final problem, same type of process, but instead of finding the final height, we are finding the initial height. So let me go ahead and highlight so we know what's what. The mass of our cart this time is going to be 3,150. So let's go ahead and set this up. All right, let's plug in what we know. So we know the mass is 3,150. We've got 9.8. And then the height, we don't know, so we'll put that as h. The initial kinetic energy. And then we set that equal to the right side. So again, plugging in what we're given. All right, we are given the final height, which is 5 meters. All right, let's try to simplify here. All right, some big numbers on the right side. All right, so again, I'm going to add up the right side and then subtract 265,200. So I get 3,870. H equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 800. I'm going to divide both sides by the 30,870, and I get a height of 40 meters. So again, for these types of problems, the setup is probably the hardest part. Just be careful. If you have to, highlight using 2 different colors, the initial and the final, and then just carefully plug everything in.